Hi everyone, I'm here today to show you the progress that I've made since yesterday. So there's been quite a lot of modules that I've added and I've connected it so that we have like one scenario that runs all of them just so I can check up on it. First, I'll just show you what those modules are and what the options are, and then I'll tell you a little bit more details about each and every one of them. So this is the first module, which is basically the view access key list for a certain account. So let me just zoom in so you can see view access key list. And I've set it up for my account so that we can just see all the access keys that I have on the testnet account. Then the next one is view access key details, and I just selected the first one, the first public key that was returned from this module. As you can see here, this is basically what the module returns, which is basically a detail of all the access keys that are related to a certain account. So let's remove this. We want to get the first public key. Then the next one is view access key changes, which basically allows us to input test the name of the account and the public key which we want to inspect, and just see all the changes for that account, for that access key. The next one is view access key changes, so it's basically the RPC method for a module for this RPC method, which basically accepts the account IDs whose access keys changes we want to view. The next one would be in the next part of the RPC endpoint, which is the view account one. And I set it up so that we can view my account. And the next one is view account changes, which basically accepts a list of account IDs. Then the next one is view contract code. Since I don't have any contracts on my account, I just selected the testnet account, the guestbook testnet account, like in the example right here. Then we have the view contract state account module, which basically does what it says. We use the contract state, so it's analogous. It's analog to this one. Here we basically just put in the account ID we want to look at. Okay, then here we have the view contract state changes. Basically just list the account IDs for the contracts whose changes we want to look at, and we can input an optional key prefix for the values of the state we want to look for, whose changes we want to look for. We can then do the same for contract code changes with a list of account IDs. And this one is still a work in progress, the call contract view function. Since I haven't looked into which methods are available on this guestbook testnet account, which I'll do tomorrow probably, we can add the method name and also add key value pairs for the methods arguments we want to pass. Then next we have the block and chunk methods. So the first one is block details. For right now, I just put it in as the latest block, but tomorrow I'm gonna add details so that we can choose either the block finality or the block ID. Same goes for changes in block, which for now I just put so we can use just the final block, the block with finality, the latest block with finality. Otherwise, I'm gonna add the ability to use block ID or block hash. Then chunk details is basically for looking at the details of a chunk or a block ID or shard ID. Right now, I just enabled chunk ID. Tomorrow I'll add the functionality for block or shard ID. And I selected the latest, basically the first chunk that was returned from the block changes, from the block details. So here we have, let's see, chunks, and okay, I didn't want to add them, but here we have chunks, and then we can select the chunk hash, which is basically what I did. Next, we have the single gas price module, which basically we for this one I added the ability to change it either to block height, to a list of block heights, or a list of block hashes, or just null. Right now I just basically took the block hash from the block details back there, from the changes in block, sorry. Then we have next the network layer, so basically node status, which doesn't have any parameters, just gives us the status of all the nodes, of the validators, etc. Then network info, which also doesn't have any parameters and gives us some information about the network, like here. And then validation status, which can again take the same parameters as the gas price. So I just selected that as the latest block height that we have, that we return from the node status. And then the next couple of modules I implemented is transaction status, which can basically take the sender account ID and the transaction hash to check out the details about a transaction, like here, transaction status. And then here for the transaction status with receipts, we have the same set of parameters like here, and we can check out the receipts together with the transaction status. And finally, the last one I did for today was the receipt ID, get receipt by ID, and I just took the receipt ID from the latest, from the first receipt I received from the transaction status with receipts module. So that's basically everything that was done today, and some of them were started yesterday. Here in VS Code, you can see what it looks like. So basically, to create each module, I had a communication layer, which defines how we add those how we send those parameters, and then we don't have any static parameters for this one. For mappable parameters, we have the account ID, the method name, and the arguments, the array of arguments, which are key value pairs. And then I still haven't done this for the call contract view function interface, which will give me the result of this module call. Then samples, I'm gonna fill that out later with examples of inputs. And it's the same story about the other ones, except the call contract view function is the only one that's not finished out of all of these, and there's some transaction methods that still need to be implemented, as well as these protocol methods, so Genesis config and protocol config, which I'll do tomorrow. And then let's see, what else do we have? Let's run this so we can see some of those outputs. Okay, so now we can see, for example, for access view view access key list. This is what we get. These are the 3 access keys I have, and here we have the details about them. These are all full access keys, I believe. Yep. Then here we can get the details of a single access key. So here we go. Then changes for single access key, basically just adding the access key. So there were no changes. And then for all of them, again, we didn't have any changes for those. Then let's see view account. This is the output, so basically the amount of near, everything like in the documentation. Account changes. There were no changes to the account, so we don't have anything. Then let's see contract codes. So this is the code for the contract. We have it here encoded in base 64. Here, this one was contract state. So might not have gotten everything right over there. View contract state changes. Here, it's an empty array. I'll check that out to see if I got something wrong. Same goes here. And this one, let's see, there was an error. So the method was not found, which is expected since I didn't check which methods are available. Then block details. Let's see, there's the header of the block. So we have all those details. Then changes in a block. Let's see. There's some changes. Accounts touched. Access key touched. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me just. Okay. Then we have chunk details. Let's see. This is for a chunk. So transactions. There was only one transaction, it looks like. And no receipts. Then let's see gas price. So we basically get the gas price. Node status. So here we have the status of nodes in the network. Here we have active peers and known producers. So that's looking good. Then here, this is for validation status. So here we can have, yep. Then let's see transaction status. Since there was no transaction, there is no output. Same goes here, and here it didn't get the receipt ID since there was no output from this method. That's it for today. Thank you.